Is the MCU back? After a string of misses, Marvel looks to get their groove back with their latest outing, Thunderbolts. But does it give off that old Marvel feeling? Let's talk about it. Hey Internet, I'm Chris, and this is the place on the internet where I talk about comics, movies, games, and things I'm generally passionate about. Before I and my special guest Sam go into Thunderbolts, I just want this to be the spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about spoilers for Thunderbolts, theories about what's to come, the post-credit scene. So before you watch this review, be sure to watch the movie and then come back. And if you watch it, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Sam,
Yo,
Thunderbolts. What did you think?
Thunderbolts.
I mean, it's crazy because we've been talking for a while, and you would think we hate Marvel movies just based on every conversation we have about our Marvel project or our Marvel movie over the last year or two. But this was the rare exception where we both talked about it and we both
Yeah.
loved it. So we're gonna talk about, spoilers and then also the plot. But I actually thought this was probably one of the best written Marvel movies in the last few years because I found it difficult and I was looking to poke holes in it. I was like, you know what? They did a pretty good job of getting these people together, the concept, the characters, and I think it had that old Marvel feeling of, hey, they casted the right people that really elevated the material, that made it
Totally.
feel like, hey, this is a movie and not a comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually go into all of these Marvel movies because I'm a fan. I want to be a fan. So I want to like everything that I go and sit down and watch. And like I've, you know, so Brave New World, I go in and I go, all right, I'm here to have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting the world. And when that happens, I go, great. Glad I went. Uh, and but like this one, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think everyone was like sort of pitch perfect in their roles. I loved the overall story. I loved the feel of it. I thought it was one of the most visually interesting Marvel movies we've gotten in a long time as well. Like they they had like an opinion with
Yeah.
how they were shooting it, and what they were showing and what they were not showing. So yeah, overall very, very happy with it. I'm probably gonna go see it like at least one more time in theaters.
Yeah, and it showed that like, hey, you can make things dark but still see things lighting wise, which a
Yeah.
lot of these these big budget films have moved away. So shout out to the cinematographers, the lighters, because and also speaking of like if you watch the trailers, I really love the design of the Void. I thought that was a really interesting way to sort of like, especially in the comics, it's sort of like almost like a monster, but the fact that it's almost like, Bob looks like, a locked character in a fighting game and you just see the eyes. You don't
Yeah.
really see the mouth. It's just such a visually interesting thing. And again, like I said, or like you said, where it's they had an opinion and it seemed like every creative decision that they made was the right one.
Yeah, they did. I thought with the Void style decision, that there's like different levels of black.
Yeah.
Like he was like that kind of like ultra black where
Yeah.
you looked at it and they even had these little effects like just sort of around him where
Yeah.
the light was like fading around him. So it
Mm,
gave the sort of impression that he was almost like this black hole
yeah.
of I guess of
Just a
sadness.
void.
Yeah,
The void, just a
just a
void of,
void. Yeah.
sadness and the power of a thousand suns.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Another
also
another super serum.
another suit.
Somebody's
Listen, hey, it makes sense. I think again, a lot of the Marvel movies and Marvel projects over the last few years have actually overcomplicated things. So it's
yeah.
like, hey, he got this version of the super serum. And I think they also reference it sort of in the movie as a joke. It's like, hey, which super serum you got? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I got the regular, like Hydra. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
fancy one. I got
Fancy
that.
one.
I
I
got the
got Soviet
Soviet.
one. Still good. Still good.
Yeah. So,
You
and
even
it,
had
it
Mel. Mel had that little comment like right as Val comes out and meeting him for the first time. We'll go through the plot at some
yeah,
point, but like she comes out meeting him for the first time, and she goes, "You give, Steve Rogers super serum, and he becomes Captain America."
yeah.
Like we have no idea what happens when you give this guy. Like none of the test subjects were meant to be the guy.
Yeah,
but because it was such a catastrophic failure on everyone else, this is what we get.
that's
So
what we
yeah,
get. And again, it goes back to that old like Marvel feeling because I think from the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's always tied back to the super serum. Even in the Hulk, the Hulk is a product of them trying to do the super serum. Guess
yeah,
what? Abomination. The
here, yeah,
super, I think it's funny too because it's like,
Red Skull. Yeah, they're all
part
super.
of the going back to Marvel stuff, but like part of like Captain America, the first Avenger, the scientist, Stanley Tucci was like, oh, he had everything in his head, and if we kill him, he's the only person that
It's
can
over.
ever
No more super
develop
serums.
no more super serums.
Well,
And look, 80 years later, there's super serum everywhere. There's the Soviet one, there's the Hydra one, there's the American one.
yeah,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, everyone got a super serum. The
everyone had super
kids,
serum. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
John Walker, everyone except Sam. But kind of going into the plot of the movie, um, simple, super simple, and I really appreciate because it's hard to kind of poke holes in it. You
yeah.
have, Valentina sort of like being put on trial for impeachment, and she's just cleaning up all these things she's done over the years.
Hmm.
And she gets all of her, black sites and then everything in one place. And then all of her mercenaries, all of the Thunderbolts, you have Yelena, John Walker, Ghost, Taskmaster, who has a big role in the film.
Huge role in the movie. I was
Giant
really
role.
surprised. What a great part.
They really saved that character from Black Widow. And they're all, converging on this one site.
Yeah,
And I think again, really smart writing. Hey, how do we get these people together? How do we get them at their throat? Hey, how do we get them to work together? Oh, this person tried to kill us.
totally.
We
Yeah,
also have to figure out, and then they find out who Bob is, and it's like, oh, that seems like a problem. We should
yeah,
probably address that.
yeah.
And that's the plot. That's really the movie.
Yeah, yeah, basically. I thought it was a pretty like a perfect conceit for this because I know that, you and I shared some fears with this movie where it's like, okay, like can it do what Suicide Squad does, which is, you're gonna get all of these kind of bad people together to be heroes? No, you're gonna like send these bad people to do, things that only bad people can do. And so I was like worried about how they're forming this team, and then to find out that actually they're formed basically because Valentina was trying to kill them all at the
Yeah.
same time, is kind of a perfect moment. And I think it led to some awesome character stuff. I thought it was a great fight down there
Mm.
with like all of them using, their different powers. We got two shields bouncing around. We got so like the Widow Stinger stuff, flashing, lots of cool flips, and then of course Taskmaster just getting absolutely domed.
Yeah. Okay, I think, like as quickly as that happens,
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things, and I don't know how involved Kevin Feige was with that creative decision, but it feels like it's almost like, hey, we get it. This sucked. And even though, they shot Taskmaster in the head and then incinerated her, they had a line later in the movie that was really tasteful. Like, hey, she lived a hard life. She killed a
Hmm.
lot of people, and then she got killed. And
It's like
it was
us. Yeah.
simple. It was simple, but it was like
Yeah.
sort of like, hey, if you didn't watch Black Widow and you were confused as to who this person was that showed their face for 2 seconds,
Yeah.
that was their whole life.
That's it. Yeah.
And it also ties into the themes of the movie, which were really strong. Like, hey, these are all characters that actually do have their own personal issues, personal
Hmm.
demons.
Yep.
And what I think what's really impressive is Florence Pugh as Yelena,
Oh
one
my
of the
God. Yeah.
few characters that have kind of come out of Phase 4 and 5 and actually had some type of development and almost
Yeah.
like has had a better story than Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow,
Yeah.
Natasha. You're almost like, wait, like even though they gave you a movie, it seems like Yelena's had more of like a progress even through less appearances and less years.
Yeah.
And again, just lines like that she delivers, and then also some of the conversations she has with Bob. and all that sort of make you think
Oh
like, oh
yeah,
wow. It's just like again going back to that old Marvel feeling where you're like Robert Downey Jr. like hitting every note in those Iron Man movies. Like
yeah,
even if the action in that first Iron Man wasn't great, you're like, hey, I'm invested in these characters
right.
and what they're struggling with. Obviously, in Iron Man, you have someone that was like a shitty person becoming a less shitty person and realizing like, hey, I have all this power. And with this group of people, you all have them. I mean, like Ghost probably got the short end of the stick story-wise, but John Walker's stuff, like they were able to redeem him from like his appearance in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
He had a really compelling story with just a few little things.
I thought,
And
yeah, the way that they like slipped in when, because like, John Walker was like, oh no, Valentine's not trying to kill me. Like,
mm,
I'm successful. Like,
I have a family.
I'm Captain America. I have a family. I've got a wife who loves me and a child. And then like the reveal later when Bucky is like, yeah, man, I know it's been tough since your wife left you.
And took the
And
kid. He's like
yeah,
turned a
and
knife.
yeah, and Elena looks at him and it was like I mean, again, all of these actors did such a great job, but like, it's Wyatt Russell is just like, yeah, like he doesn't like fully cop up to it. He doesn't have like a whole moment. It's just like yeah, fine, you fuck like you busted me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I thought like it just no one in that group ever really betrayed who they were to be like this super team.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty sensational as well.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it stays true to the concept in terms of throughout. It's like,
yeah,
hey, even when Bob is revealed to be this super secret super soldier and Valentina realizes like, oh, hey, it worked, and is trying to make him sort of this perfect hero, the Avengers, all the Avengers rolled into one. Again, when you're sort of have that team go up against him, it doesn't feel like that, first Suicide Squad movie where it's like, hey, let's send the Suicide Squad when the Flash exists, when all these characters exist to save this city. It's like, hey, these events are kind of just happening, and they didn't even know they were gonna go fight Bob when they
yeah,
got there. It was just
yeah,
like, hey, and then Valentina's like, hey, you guys showed up. Thank you. You just gave me a few people to kill and show off my new toy.
totally.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, what happens, happens. But
The way
again, like it
she
may seem
puppets
like
is
we're
great.
like skipping through things, but the reality is the plot is they almost get incinerated. They
Yeah,
realize Valentina's trying to kill us. Let's go find her.
yeah,
Let's go save Bob. Bob gets captured and stuff like that. And that's the movie. Is there's really like, hey, there's all these character moments along the way, but it's like thinking about it, I think this movie only had like three or four locations.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. You've got like DC for the impeachment stuff. You've got, I guess, technically Malaysia right at the
Yeah.
beginning where it all starts. You've got the black site, and then you've got New York.
Yeah.
Like that, it's just that. I thought the whole like Bucky as like a junior congressman thing was kind of fun. Like seeing him, uh, it that feels very comic books. I'm not
Yeah.
well enough to know if Bucky ever was a congressman at
I, I
some point.
I doubt it. I think it's an interesting like MCU development, but
Yeah.
also, kudos to the writers because I felt like when they first showed him, like when he shows up in Brave New World, it
Hmm.
almost seems like he's like popular, like he's got it figured out, like what
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
getting into in that.
Yeah.
And whereas in this, it feels like, hey, the first time a microphone is stuck in his face, he's like, yes,
Uh,
yes,
yeah.
we
Yeah.
will do that.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like, again, where all these people, all these characters are living lives that they don't want to live. Like
Right.
they're stuck. Like, hey, like Bucky feels like, hey, the Avengers aren't around. I had a rough life. I was a killer. I need to atone for this
Yeah.
by doing things the right way. Steve's not around anymore. And this is my way of giving back of, he doesn't have the shield, so he's like,
Right.
"Hey, this is my way of being a good guy."
Yeah.
And you can tell sort of like immediately just from him sitting in that impeachment hearing, him sort of like, why do we have to do all this? Why don't I just go over there and like, figure this out. And you can tell as soon as he shows up in the movie where he's, looking like a badass, looking like
Yeah.
the
That's when he
Terminator
feels at
on
home.
the
Yeah.
that's where he feels at home.
Yeah.
And funny enough, and I think this is one of the things I think they kind of haven't really gotten into so much since like he's been, deneuralized is he's 90. Like the fact that he's older,
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
guys. And it kind of felt like for the first time that Bucky you saw in the first Captain America telling Steve like, hey, you can stay here. You don't need to fight. Like almost like a big brother type of thing, which I
Yeah.
think, you don't get to see so much from Sebastian Stan and that character. So I really like that. And also, again, it felt like they weren't going in circles with his character arc. Like even when they go into the void and they're going into different rooms and they ask him like, "What was your room like?" "Oh yeah, it was pretty shitty," and then they
Yeah.
just move on.
Yeah, he goes,
So
what was his line was like, "Oh yeah, everything was fine. I don't have anything bad about my past."
exactly. Which was good, and I think sort of like in Brave New World, I think part of like some of the issues with that movie is that it seemed like it was going through things that are already like character wise, like, hey, I already seen Sam struggle with
Totally.
being Captain America and all these things. So the fact that they were like, hey, characters like Yelena and John Walker need a little bit more of that development
Yeah.
was really cool.
Yeah, I thought the characters were all like where they needed to be when they needed to be there as well, and you didn't like again, I enjoyed Brave New World, but
Yeah.
it was a popcorn movie. There
Yeah.
wasn't really anything more to it, and if you look too hard, then you see all of the cracks. And this one, like, yeah, I think, not everything is perfect, but you can look pretty hard and still see a really good movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of humor in it, like a really good humor. I thought David Harbour does like such a good job of balancing that like sad sack, pathetic,
Yeah.
guy. Like the moment when Bucky shows up and he destroys the three cars, or when he first shows up and David Harbour looks in the rearview mirror and he's like, "The Winter Soldier." He's like such a fanboy.
Yeah.
I thought it was just so great. And then then Bucky's like, hunting them down as well.
Yeah.
Just awesome moments. And then he goes and he delivers that incredible speech at the end to Yelena, about like, and this is where the Thunderbolts, name comes from,
Yeah.
which I thought was a pretty good gimmick, is that was the name of Yelena's like, you know, under six soccer team or whatever. And he gives that great speech about her wanting to be the goalie, because she wanted to be someone that people could like rely on when they all made mistakes. And then that gives us this like kind of perfect way in to understand why she then just willingly steps into Void's like
Yeah.
blackness. Um, oh, we should talk about that because I think that was sick. The
Yeah.
like the way they animated that, like, and you get that awesome moment where, Thunderbolts are saving everybody, and of course Dave Fontaine gets her
Yeah.
idea, about what to do from there, but they're all saving people, and David Harbour, Red Guardian, he saves that little girl, the thing collapses on his head. She looks at it up at him, she's like full of hope and wonder. He's thrilled, and then phoom.
She gets voided. I mean,
And
like,
we didn't know like what that meant
yeah,
yet. And I was like, did they just
kill a
kill
kid.
a little girl like right in front of our like in the theater? I went,
Yeah.
and I haven't had a moment like that in like a long time in a Marvel movie where like I feel genuine danger
Yeah.
for the characters. So that was for me like way more thrilling than a lot of what we've gotten recently.
Yeah, and usually like in talking about like Bob and Sentry, usually when, you have a character that powerful, they're gonna, figure out how to defeat them in like a
Yeah.
weird, like, oh, let's speak to his emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they figured out how to do it in a really adequate way where they were setting it up throughout the movie, set up and
Totally.
payoff, like, yes, Sentry was defeated by the power of friendship, but it was set up through the whole movie. It's like, hey, like his conversations with Yelena,
Hmm.
and also like the fact that they made this villain, obviously he's all powerful and the most one of the
Yeah.
most powerful characters we've seen in the Marvel universe. But they set it up so that sort of his journey mirrors the character's journey that we see. So it's like they're all sort of like feel like they're lost and they're seeking out something greater.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
really highlights like what superhero movies should be. Like, hey, someone's stepping up and being aspirational and stuff like that. Yes, it's the Thunderbolts and it's supposed to be their version of the Suicide Squad. But I think it does a really good job, and we'll sort of like get into like the biggest spoiler of what that asterisk means.
Yeah.
Like, I thought like watching this part of like sort of the struggle of this movie, you're like, hey, if you make Thunderbolts, where do you go from there? Do you make a
Right.
Thunderbolts 2? It's like, hey, once they've hated each other and they've learned to be heroes, how do you do that again? Well, you
Right.
don't because they
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
heroes
Yeah.
and now they're the new Avengers. And I
Yes.
thought that was
Yeah.
such a really good like sort of way to close it and be like, hey, we got what we could out of this concept.
Yeah.
And this is what, and also it's again, that feeling you got when that little girl got disappeared was that feeling when I got when I saw that new Avengers thing, and then also the post-credit scene, because it was
Yeah.
like, for the first time in a while, I felt like, oh, like I'm watching a Marvel movie that got me excited about what's next.
What's next? Yeah.
I am not
100%.
a fan of RDJ as Doom, but I saw that post-credit scene. I saw that. I was like, hey, for the first time in a couple years, I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, we got,
And
and I mean, whatever that AI is, it's like
yeah,
multi-dimensional ship coming, and you're
yeah.
like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, they filmed this a week ago and stuff like that. You could tell from the costumes and stuff. But it's just
Yeah.
like a really good like way of sort of like again tying everything together. It's just like a really well written and directed. You could tell that probably the strikes helped it where they maybe were like able to go back and be like, all right,
Yeah.
let's tighten some things up and stuff
Totally.
like that. Also, it feels like a movie. Like Brave New World,
Yeah.
again, was fun, but you could tell they reshot a lot of it. Some of the shots in it, you're like, this person is definitely not in the same room as this
Right.
other person. And it's like it felt good to watch a
Oh
Marvel movie
gosh.
where a lot of it was practical, and even the Void and Sentry stuff was really felt real, except like when they first fight him, where he's like, going like OP and all that, and looking like Henry Cavill's Superman. That was
Yeah.
the one time where like the CGI was like, I don't know about this. But
I
luckily, it
still
was only like a 2-minute fight.
And I still thought it was like it was fun enough to see him like kind of toy with them,
Yeah.
like throwing Red Guardian out the window and then like bringing him back
Yeah.
in and throwing him down, and then you get this great moment from Bucky where he's gotten his ass beat and then he gets up off the floor and he takes off his jacket
Hmm.
like that's gonna,
Yeah.
now he's like
Nah, man.
unconscious if like Bucky is like he's like wearing Goku weighted
Yeah, yeah. It's
weighted
like
vest
just pew.
and then like it does absolutely
And I
nothing.
love that they just run to the elevator and they're like, fuck this.
They get in the elevator, they just go down the elevator and
But
they
like,
leave.
hey, he's the hero. He won.
Yeah,
But that's another thing too, and I think that again, really well written. It's like you could have easily been like, okay, like why didn't he just kill them? And it's like it's explained 2 minutes later. It's
yeah,
like, hey, they're not a threat to me. I
yeah. He's
kind of
like,
like them. Like, why do I have to fight them? You're
why do
telling
you
me I have to
why do
do
you want
this.
me to kill them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like, wait, why would I kill them? They're
yeah,
ants to me on top of that. And then it's sort of like he's working through it, and you kind of see him have this like Ultron moment of realizing, like, wait, I'm a god.
yeah,
Wait, why am I listening to you?
yeah, yeah.
Like, wait a minute. Should
Who, who are you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
who are you? And it's like, hey, I actually like those guys.
yeah,
So that's why I didn't kill them. So I think it was a really good, like, again, plugging in those like things you would think would be a plot hole. Like, oh, why didn't he just kill them then? It's
Yeah.
like, well, he wasn't trying to. They were fighting him, and he had to show his strength, and he was showing
Yeah.
off. But the reality is, he never wanted to kill them. So that's why he brings back Red Guardian. That's
Right.
why when he takes off Bucky's arm, it's like, hey, here's your arm back,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
instead of like breaking it in half.
Right. Right. He could have like crushed it and shattered it. I mean,
Yeah.
like this is a character. I think I texted you before that I was kind of hoping that he was going to end up ripping
Ripping someone. Yeah.
Taskmaster in half because like that's sort of
Yeah.
his shtick, and maybe we'll get that at some point.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in a show of Force, they're like, "Hey, we gotta have Doom kill him first." That would be, a
That's
dude
I
suit.
mean, yeah, like you gotta somehow, and however Doom ends up in this world, this probably multidimensional. I imagine he, somehow follows the Fantastic Four through.
Yeah, incursions.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, technically, we have an incursion going on with Charlize Theron and and
Like I
Doctor
said,
Strange.
and to sort of like put a bow on sort of like how important this movie is, really, just based on Brave New World and this post-credit scene, I'd imagine if you just watch these two and then Fantastic Four, none of the rest of the stuff even matters. They're
Yeah,
probably gonna basically like, hey, one line everything. Hey, why does Doctor Strange have that eye? Oh, he read the Darkhold.
yeah, 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 yeah,
None of it's really that important, which kind of sucks. And there was recently an article about like Kevin Feige sort of like, them scaling back.
yeah.
And
Got it.
part of it was that they felt that it was becoming homework. And it's like, well, if the people who make this feel like it's homework,
What do you think the
and
audience feels
that's
like?
what's
Yeah,
great about this movie. It's like, hey, yes, it's enhanced if you watch Black Widow.
sure.
Yes, it's kind of cool if you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
But it's not needed. You kind of get like who these characters are in the movie, beginning, middle, and end. The arc ends. You feel like you're satisfied with this movie. But then it gives you a really great teaser for what's to come, and it sort of builds that excitement for it. And that's what Marvel was about back in the day. It was like, hey, you got a really great, or at least a high floor movie where you're entertained.
yeah,
And then that tease at the end was like, oh man, I'm really excited for what's to come. And it just seems like before, like the last few years, it almost felt like you were just like, hey, I gotta watch this because I gotta watch the fucking post-credit scene to
yeah,
know what happens in the next thing.
yeah,
Where this, it's like it almost feels like I don't know if you felt this with the post-credit scene, and to kind of explain what happens, it's revealed that they're the new Avengers. And that was another well-written moment where all these years people were like, "Who bought Avengers Tower? Who bought
yeah.
Avengers Tower?" And it's like, well, someone did buy Avengers Tower, but they also made it Avengers Tower. So,
Right.
so it just went back. They found a way to kind of like basically like, hey, actually,
Yeah,
not a question you have to answer anymore.
yeah,
It's Avengers Tower.
yeah.
And Yelena is sort of like you see there's an internal struggle because Sam from Brave New World, Captain America is building his own Avengers team. That's causing friction between the new Avengers, and I'd imagine
With
that
him and New Falcon, who is they just have the same powers.
yeah, they have the same thing. It's like,
And
why
one
not
of one
just
of
give him a
them
shield?
one of them has a shield. Like,
Yeah. We won't talk about that. But I'm sure the young Avengers are gonna show up and all that. And then, there's some stuff going out in outer space. They get an image of it. You see the
yeah.
Fantastic Four's ship come in.
What was that?
Um,
So that was different. I feel like there were two little things happening in that post
yeah.
credits where there's something happening in outer space, and then they get a new threat,
Yeah.
which is the multidimensional ship. So I wonder if the stuff that's happening in outer space is referencing something else. Like, is it like
I'd
trying to
imagine like
allude to like
everything
Secret
is
War, or not
coming.
Secret Wars, but Secret Invasion?
I think everything's kind of coming together at the same time, where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
like these incursions that were referenced in Multiverse of Madness and all this. And I think, again, they're trying to make it so that it's not homework. Like the first, like, 20 minutes of Doomsday is probably like, hey, this planet is going. Because also they have to introduce the X-Men from the Fox universe and all that. So there's
Which we
like,
got the tease of that from The Marvels,
Yeah,
right?
we did. No one watched this.
Because that's the post-credit scene of the
Yeah,
Marvels, and then like I guess kind of Deadpool Wolverine
yeah.
is like
So a little
the
bit.
the start of that.
But I think that was before this creative sort of overhaul of being like, let's lock in
Totally
because it's clear. Like, also this post-credit scene is like 2, 3 minutes. It's the longest.
long.
Yeah, so it's pretty long. Also because they're kind of like joking around too.
Yeah. But
But
also the
it,
movie's short. Like the movie is
yeah,
only 2 hours.
I felt like, and I don't know if you felt this, like it almost felt like a scene from the movie. Like
Mm,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's an alternate or an extended version of
yeah.
that scene in Avengers Doomsday. And we've
Mm,
seen
sure.
some post-credit scenes like that in Marvel before where they've shown clips or a section of a movie.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
forget which one had like a small
Winter
scene from like
Soldier.
Civil War or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this was like, hey, there's a version of this scene in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That makes
it just felt like, hey, like they locked in and was like, again, I Doomsday I'm very like shaky on, but it seemed like they locked in and figured out a way to get me back in and excited. And that post-credit scene did that. So I'm sure we're gonna figure out what those incursions mean in
mm,
Fantastic Four. That's gonna do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of like what the multiverse means and all that. And I think it's gonna probably try to do give people all the information they need or all the information they may have missed in Loki
yeah. Sure.
and to explain, and that post credit scene is probably going to be like 10 minutes long to put people in a place like, all right, you're ready for Doomsday, get your popcorn, make
Yeah.
us $1 billion and all that. So, I thought it was really cool. I
That was
thought the
awesome.
movie overall, like I said, was really tightly written and it
Yeah.
was simple. You had some great performances
Awesome.
and they made again what Marvel used to be good at before sort of like they had that rapid expansion. They made you care about characters that if you saw the trailer initially, you're like, who the fuck wants a Thunderbolts movie with this lineup? Where is Zemo? Give me the Red Hulk. Give me all these other characters. Same feeling I probably had when Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy was coming out. It's like, why would I want to watch a movie about a talking tree and a talking
Yeah.
raccoon with a giant gun? And they did it, and that's what Thunderbolts is.
Yeah, for me, this was that like again, like I said at the top, like I've enjoyed everything we've had. Like
Yep.
I go into these things like, looking for entertainment, looking to see characters that I like, doing quips, doing cool fight scenes, and I'm usually pleased to very pleased. And
Yeah.
then this one just kind of just ratcheted it up a little bit for the first time that I've really felt, especially in this sort of latter phase four. And if this is the last movie of phase four.
What's
So
funny is actually everything's been so bad, people don't realize we're in phase
I don't think
five.
it's been that bad.
But it's like one of those things where, again,
Yeah.
you knew when a phase kind of transitioned, or a phase was kind of like bookmarked with an Avengers movie. So,
Yeah.
like, this past few years have been such kind of like a blur, and
They've
there's
just
been
been kind
so
of
much content.
wilderness years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where this last year, and I think maybe, it suffered a bit, but probably a lot of those rewrites that happened in Brave New World was like, hey, we gotta go back.
Yeah.
We gotta go back to basics. Or, to make a Spider-Man reference, we gotta go back to formula.
Yeah. Back to formula.
Formula. Yeah, so
Uh,
and I
yeah,
and I really
because
appreciate that.
I think each project, again, like I think each of those individual movies as like a neat wrapped bubble, I think have been good. It's the where are we getting to? Where are we building that has,
Yeah.
made it kind of laborious and probably what Kevin Feige mentioned with like it feeling like homework. So now that there is a sense of momentum, and we have exciting and again like the projects look and feel different, which is really exciting. That was one of the really fun things about the those first MCU projects where you're like, oh yeah, like this is this genre film, this is a
Yeah.
this genre film, and you're building a bunch of different styles, but all telling one
Yeah.
cohesive, one trajectory story. I'm hopeful that now we're gonna get a little bit more of that. We got a little bit of that with Brave New World, where it was
Mhm.
like, ooh, are we doing like a political thriller?
Yeah.
And then it kind of turned into a Red Hulk movie.
Uh-huh.
I think like thought it was good, thought it was fun, but I mean, I Thunderbolts again just sort of took it to that next level
Yeah.
for me.
Great. It is classic MCU. I wouldn't be mad if people are like, this is the best movie since Endgame. I think it has those things. The two best projects
Yeah,
that since Endgame to me were, No Way Home and then also
yeah,
Guardians 3. But again, I think we talked about it. Those are like feel like very individual ends of those
yeah,
story arcs.
yeah.
So they don't, and also they don't lead anywhere. Yeah, at the end of Guardians, you get a new Guardians theme or anything like that. But
Sure.
hey, even though they mentioned space stuff in this, if this happened 5 years ago and they mentioned space, I'm like, oh, the Guardians. To
Yeah,
me, I'm like, that probably has nothing to do with the Guardians of the
probably
Galaxy.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Spider-Man was like this kind of I don't know, when I first saw it, I like texted friends. I was like, they pulled off a miracle here.
yeah,
Like they took all of those movies, all of the different Spider-Men, and like brought them all together and kind of gave us a more satisfying ending and like a bit of catharsis for
yeah.
all of them, and then did what I've been asking for forever. And we need to wrap this up, so I won't labor
Uh-huh.
this point, but like brought us back to Spider-Man and what Spider-Man is at his core when he's like he pops down that GED book.
Yeah.
It's a crappy apartment where, he can fry an egg and take a shit at the same time. Uh, and then the police scanner goes off and he's out in the red and white tights, and you're
Yeah.
like that exhilaration that I felt with that movie was not at all pertaining to like the MCU as a whole. That was pertaining solely to like my love of Spider-Man and those Spider-Man films. Whereas the exhilaration I feel now is like, okay, like give me that next movie.
Yeah. Fantastic Four.
Fantastic
Two.
Four, like
I'm pretty
super
excited.
soon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the way the year is going, and then we have back to back. You have I think the way it's going is either Jurassic World, Superman, then Fantastic Four, or Superman,
Hmm.
Fantastic Four, and Jurassic World. I love those Jurassic World movies, so I'm excited for all of July.
Yeah.
We will be hopefully seeing the Superman or Fantastic Four
Oh, I can't
together.
wait.
That's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And like I said, hopefully we learn what incursions are because Marvel has not done a good job of explaining what those mean in the context of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that and what that third eye Doctor Strange has. I'm gonna love. They should definitely have like a Star Wars crawl at the beginning of Doomsday. It's like at the top of it, the Kang Dynasty is over.
Oh
Doom is
my
here.
gosh.
Kang was killed in a tragic car accident, leaving a void in the multiverse filled by, variant
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
6160,
And
so
you zoom out and it's Paul Rudd at his computer typing it. Like he's like in an editing bay doing it.
listen, I mean, you don't want Reddit writing your movies, but I think the greatest idea ever to come from the internet is to have Lewis, Michael Peña's character from Ant-Man, explain the Marvel Cinematic Universe from day one. That, again, if they start Avengers Doomsday with that, everyone's back on board. $3 billion, $3 trillion at the box office.
Right.
It doesn't matter what happens in the rest of the movie.
Michael Pena, man. Yeah, just like them taking him out of Quantumania, like
That we're not going to go there because we could talk about how bad Quantumania is and how it derailed years of Marvel storytelling just to make a Fantastic Four movie and an Ant-Man movie. Just- But we're finally getting our Fantastic Four
yeah,
soon, and the Thunderbolts was amazing.
love
I
it.
really loved it. It was great to sort of be in a Marvel movie and have that old Marvel feel, be at the
Hmm.
post credit and be like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
and
fucking
looked at,
just buzzing.
yeah, and see people, on their phone Googling
Uh-huh.
things. Like
Yeah,
it's that old field. Whereas, the last couple of years is like, what?
yeah,
What just happened?
yeah.
So I'm glad people were excited, and it's good to see the online response. So hopefully it does well at the box office and holds really well,
Okay, yeah.
and so that we see more of this and less RDJ as Doom. I want
Mhm.
more new characters like the Thunderbolts,
Mhm.
and to see that going forward.
And then let Ryan Coogler do whatever he wants with Black Panther. Because
Yeah,
after
exactly. And
years,
get Denzel in that, and
like,
let's not shoehorn in stories to set up
yeah,
that.
whatever Ryan Coogler wants to do with that story, with that trilogy,
Have him shoot it on film if he
I
wants
give
to.
I give him the whole bag.
Have him turn Black Panther into a physical panther.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah,
he wants.
whatever he wants.
All right.
Carte
Thanks,
blanche.
Sam. Good catching
Yeah.
up.
So good seeing
Right.
you, man.
All
Adios.
right.